I went to Paducah, Kentucky to visit with Mike Driver, a former United States Enrichment Corps nuclear worker, now sick from contamination. While at USEC, we were followed by a guard. Later, Mike was interviewed by the FBI about our visit.
I know, he's indignant. These puppy dogs, I tell you what. I began working at the Paducah gaseous diffusion plant in August of 1984. And I began working in the security department as a security guard, basically. They called us security inspectors. I was very happy to be working at the plant. It was the best money and best benefits that I'd ever made. And I had been told by many people that it was the safest, cleanest, most secure place to work, and I believed that. During my second year of employment, I developed an illness called an anal fistula, which basically means that there is a hole in the wall of the rectum and a tube begins to grow and runs on up into the hip area. I had a surgery to correct that. 10 months later, it opened up and I went back to the doctor and I had a cyst in that area and had another surgery. 10 months after that, I went back and it had opened up again and I had a third surgery in that area, in which case he removed a tumor. And the doctor questioned me then. He said, what in the world are you doing out there that causes this? And I said, I don't know. And he said, do you sit for long periods of time? I said, well, not that long, but we do sit on post, letting people in and out of the plant, quite often for, an hour or two at a time. He said, well, that might cause it, but I don't know. It was 2 years later that I went back for the fourth surgery. This time he performed a radical surgery and went very deep into that area, and it healed up, but a couple of years later I began to have a lot of other bleeding and it persisted. It only stopped just a few months ago. After I came out of the plant, or about the time I came out of the plant, one of the health physics technicians in the plant, who had become a good friend of mine, just happened to go by the main guard post one day, and he noticed that some of the workers in the plant, one or two of them were in there inside the guard post waiting to escort a truck into the plant, and they had propped their feet up in the cloth chairs. So he went in and he says, you guys know you might be contaminating these chairs? And the guys just laughed at him and said, oh, these chairs have been here for 35 years. So he went back to the truck and got his meter, came back in and examined the chairs, and he found the highest radioactive readings that he'd ever found in the plant. And those were the chairs that I had been sitting in. My absentee rate had gotten to 20%. And the only reason that I wasn't fired or let go, however you want to look at it, is President Clinton, who is not one of my favorite characters, but he is on this account, had passed the Family Medical Leave Act. And the Family Medical Leave Act protected me, protected my job. I was in the health medical department frequently, talking to the plant doctor. I kept going in and telling him what my symptoms were, asking for help, asking for direction, what doctor do I go to, and I couldn't get any help from anybody. Finally, I determined that there had to be something in the process buildings that either I was allergic to or something was causing my problem. So I went through the proper chain of command, through my immediate supervisor, through my department supervisor, on up through my division supervisor, and finally went to the plant manager, who was Steve Polston at that time. And I sat down and talked with Steve, and I told him what was going on. And I told him, I said, Steve, I don't want to do anything that's not right, but I said, I like working out here. I want to keep my job if I can. But I'm sick all the time. I'm sick, and I said, something's wrong. I'm afraid I might be getting into something in the buildings that's just not sitting right with me. is there anything we can do to get me out of the process buildings, maybe be somewhere else? And he said, let me check on something, and would you be back here tomorrow and talk to me tomorrow? And I said, sure, I'll be glad to. He said, okay, come back about the same time tomorrow. And he said, I'll be here, we'll talk about it again. I said, okay. So next day I came in to see him, and whereas the first time that I talked to him, he said and looked me squarely in the eye and talked to me right straightforward, just as I'm looking at you. Then when I went back for the second day, he would only stare at the floor. And he said, Mike, I'm sorry. He said, I know you're having a lot of problems, and I know that you're serious about this. You know, you're not making this up. He said, I can see myself that you're sick, but he said, I can't help you. He said, the only thing I can do for you is tell you that if you apply for total and permanent disability, I will support you 100% and do my best to help you get total and permanent disability. I said, Steve, I don't want total and permanent disability. I need to be working. I need to find out what's wrong with me and get fixed and get going. He said, that's all I can tell you. I finally came out on disability. Generally, heavy metals, no matter what they are, they like to lock up in the amino fatty acid tissues of the body, soft nerve tissues, bone marrow. Uranium especially loves bone marrow. And so as these heavy metals lock up in the body, they get attached. They like where they are. They get comfortable. They make a little nest, and they're there. And therefore, the 6 different doctors that I went to in 3 different states in a 2-year period couldn't find what was wrong with me, because they kept running blood tests and urinalysis, and I just kept getting sicker. So I was able to, through Ruby English and Tony English, her son, and their family, Ray English, the father who is now dead, through this wonderful family, they connected me with this doctor. This guy is an absolute great guy, but the Department of Energy took out after him, and they broke him. They threatened him. They did many other things, and they actually physically broke him, financially, physically, every way you could think of. But he moved to Franklin, Tennessee, and was employed by Vanderbilt University in an oncology, a branch oncology clinic in Franklin, and set up shop there. And he was quietly continuing to treat people with chelation therapy, which is the only cure for heavy metals poisoning. I probably haven't mentioned that yet, but chelation therapy is the only way that you can get these metals out of your body. There's nothing else that works. And he was quietly treating people, and people from Paducah who had friends in Oak Ridge found out about it, so people from Paducah began to go down there. I was one of those people, and he saved my life. He really did in the treatments. I had a 3-day treatment where he flushed out huge amounts of arsenic, lead, silver, and nickel, and a handful of other lesser elements. And he saved my life. This is the gate where the dump trucks and the backhoe used to come out every night at midnight and would drive to some destination within a 2-hour distance of the plant and dump the slag that they wanted to get rid of, because they'd run out of places to dump it in the plant. I am on medication.
Could you tell me a little bit about that?
I am on I'm on 3 different elements. OxyContin painkiller. I take 20 milligrams twice a day. I also take Scalaxin, and I take Dapro. One is an anti-inflammatory drug. The other one is muscle relaxer, because I have muscle spasms. We now have a home that is also a bed and breakfast. I can't work it, but I'm here and I get to pour coffee for guests and answer the phone and things like that. But as far as actually working it and actually physically doing anything, we have to pay other people in order to do all of the yard work, take care of the flower beds, clean the rooms, vacuum and stuff. I can't do those things. It appears that the government is dead set on paying only somewhere in the area of about 30% of the claimants, and the other 70% they just have no intention of paying. I don't know why. I was denied last year. They told me that I could have gotten, in my letter of denial, they told me that I could have gotten these high levels of arsenic, lead, silver, and nickel from anywhere in the environment. In other words, I could just walked outside and gotten a deadly dose of arsenic, lead, silver, and nickel. I don't think so. I just don't think so.